Thank you. I just started recording. Sorry. So again, this is the initial submission ideas that we need to come up with. We've made a list. That's the phase one that I had sent out, or it's also on the Dropbox. And so initially, Patty Beeson had taken a picture of what the CMC looks like, which is basically these tables here where there's a microphone up in this area where you add comments and such, but the panel of CMC members are basically off to the left side there. Do you want to kind of go over that, Patty? So we all understand.
Do you have the other video?
Pardon me?
You don't have the other video though, do you?
No, I don't. It's on Dropbox.
Okay. What happens at the CMC, the actual members of the CMC sit in a square. And up in the front is the leader of the group. They have an attorney up there. They have ADA people up there. And then there's a representative from every one of the dental specialty groups along, let me see, as you're looking at the front, along the right side and the back. And then on the left side, you have public health and the different carriers. Behind them kind of are their minions, or the other people who might have the information that they need, just and some of the other different groups. But the voting members are the ones on the inside of the square. Yeah, it's intimidating to walk in there the first time. Everybody has a microphone. They can talk, they cannot talk, however they choose with each submission. But they have an agenda, and even though they allow 2 days for this thing, they usually always finish it in a day. They did last year, and I forget how many million, there were a lot of submissions last year, and they finished it in a day. But there's a lot of prior talk and negotiation that goes on about things. Last year, like if anything is said about anything for perio, they all automatically look to Dr. Schweinbrenner, Marie Schweinbrenner, because she's the AAP, and they pretty much look to her for that. And a lot of times it'll be, the oral surgery group if they're talking about sedation, and so that you sort of see them all defer, and we know they all discuss between themselves. The microphone in the back, you can go up there, you can ask a question, and you can provide some testimony if you want to. This past year wasn't too bad. The year before that, we provided testimony, and it was like dropping it into a black hole. The year before that was a little bit better. They still thought we were the cute hygienists. It's an incredible experience to be there. And this year, actually, they have a new member. I don't know how they're going to work it out because they've got dental anesthesia is a new specialty that they approved. So they always try and make it odd numbers. I don't know what else they're going to do. What else? What else can I say? If you want to know who's there, or at least which specialties are there, you can go on the ADA website and look up the Codes Maintenance Committee, and you can find out which groups are actually voting members and represented there.
Right. I as part of this PowerPoint at the end, I do have a list of the different specialties. I found that on the website that you sent me to, and so I do have a list of the different specialties that we can sort of use as a jumping off point to maybe form previous coalitions with. to support. Right now we're using, the next slide is a CDT coding book that we use. Right now we're using the 2018 one or 2019.
19.
Sorry, 2019 one. You know, and you know, you can find that online, or there is a copy, I believe, on at the Dropbox. Patty DeGangi was kind enough to put the copy of the 2019, I believe, or 2018.
Yes,
Um,
19.
2018. You're right, Vicki. Thank you.
No, it's the 19.
Is it the 19? Okay,
It
great.
is the 19, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. They expire. The code books expire. At the end of this year, 2019 is no longer valid.
You mean the 28th? Oh, you mean December 31st?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
It's
okay,
no longer valid. You need the 2020.
okay. So everything is on Dropbox, dropbox.com, and we are under the provider language group, which has a list of all our submissions so far, all our meetings. If you ever want to, you know, follow up on, you know, what, like if you go into Dropbox, the next picture I have is all the groups that they have that you can then double click on those files and go into the specific files. But I thought what was great, I did read your, you met with Congress, Christy?
Me?
Yes.
I testified in front of the Health Committee several years back at the invitation of Al Franken and Bernie Sanders. So yes, I testified in front of them, and then I also sat on a panel that was broadcast on C-SPAN, talking a lot about access to dental care and solutions.
Excellent. Yeah, I read your testimony, and it was excellent. It was succinct and thorough, and so I mean, you know, that would that be something that we could use for testimony, or is that not something that we need? Is that the testimony isn't? That's not what we're looking for, Patty.
I don't know. I haven't read it.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't read it. We're looking for possible coalition partners.
Okay.
However they are and wherever they are, whether they're a group or someone who wants to provide testimony about some of the issues that occur because of the provider language that's in the CDT book. In the front of the CDT book, in the preface, on the back last page of the preface, it says that the State Practice Act trumps the CDT book, which is all well and good, but who reads the last page of the preface of the book? And we've heard, anecdotally at least, that it's been somewhat intimidating for different people and or different groups to actually, for example, if your state allows you to do an evaluation, you should be allowed to do the evaluation, even though the CDT book and the code, the 0150, says that it's the purview of the dentist. But there's a lot of intimidation, and there's also, we've heard that there are issues with carriers who won't pay for that, even though the Practice Act for the state says it's acceptable. So that's kind of what we're looking for, is someone who can provide testimony or evidence or something, or who knows someone, perhaps in one of the carriers, who says, yes, absolutely, we will not pay that to a dental therapist or a hygienist or anybody but a dentist. We need that kind of evidence to bring it up, that although it's okay in their Practice Act, they're not being paid for it because you have this language in there. And you need to take dentist out and put provider in. Does that make sense to everybody? They get it?
Yeah.
I do.
It does.
This
I
is-
don't know. I know of examples of that, but are you talking about, so you're talking about changing language in the CDT code to match state
It can't,
law?
it
The
can't
Practice
really
Act?
match the Practice Act because there's, 51 Practice Acts.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what we need to, part of what we think we need to do, and I can be wrong about this, but we think we need to be able to say, this is causing confusion and misinformation and issues for providers. And
Sure.
it needs to be provider neutral or neutral language rather than saying the dentist. I think in one place it says the pathologist or something. There's a couple of places where it says funny and different things about who should be doing it. Well, it's not up to the CDT to decide, although
No, it's
ADA
not.
certainly thinks so. But that's kind of what we're sort of leaning toward, to say, look, this is actually causing problems. It's not just a bunch of hygienists having hurt feelings because we want to be able to have our name in there. It's because this is causing problems. And these are procedure codes. Who the heck cares who does them as long as it's legal?
So when something is sent into an insurance carrier, is your provider code identifying you?
Yes.
yes.
So they can quantify who they want to pay specific fees. Is that
It's the insurance company's business
okay?
to not pay
Right.
on dental claims. And if you're not a licensed provider who is credentialed with that insurance company, okay, they're going to deny that based upon or pay out of network fees if you're not licensed provider. So that's how the insurance company is getting away with that based upon the language of the code in the book.
Great. So do we need to look at general dentistry or any of the specialties to build a coalition with? Or is it more the providers that we need to focus in on?
I think we
I'm
need
sorry.
anybody in. Yeah, I think we need anybody we can get in our corner.
Okay. So,
Healthcare,
how,
anybody.
okay.
By the way, any one of us can have an NPI.
That's what,
Correct.
right. That's what I remember you said. And that's why that's what they go by as far as their payment schedule, correct?
I don't know. I have no idea what their criteria are. But as far as having an NPI, every single hygienist can have an NPI, well, licensed, but they can have an NPI. You just have to apply for it, which I think would be a really good campaign, but okay.
I think when you submit a dental claim, you put in your name and credentials on that form.
Correct.
Because I have one NPI and 2 licenses. So they will what services I was specifically laid it out. And I cannot bill hygiene services under my dental therapy license because the dental therapy license does not grant me the ability to do dental hygiene. So there has to be some way in that claim that they're identifying what kind of a professional you are, because I have to use 2 separate identifiers. And my NPI is the same for both. Yeah.
That's insane.
There must be some way they're identifying what profession you are
Right.
based on something on that claim. I don't know what it is, but yeah. Because if I mismark it and I bill out a prophylaxis under my dental therapy license number, it will come back declined because I'm not an appropriate provider for that.
Seriously.
Say that one more time to me. A dental therapist cannot do a prophylaxis?
It's not in their scope of practice, no.
What? Oh my
I know.
God.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So in many other states that have passed dental therapy legislation, they have required that their dental therapists already be licensed hygienists. That is not the case in the state of Minnesota. And there are several therapists out there who are not dental hygienists and cannot do prophylaxis.
Wow, I just learned something. Thank you.
Yes.
It's a little crazy, trust me. It's hard to sometimes explain to people I can't clean your teeth, but I can take your tooth out and I can do your filling and I can do your stainless steel crown.
But I can't clean your teeth.
So, yeah, that will not be the case anymore in Minnesota because the two educational institutions, and there's a third one that's about to come online, two of them require a hygiene license to get into the program, and the University of Minnesota now has a dual license program where you come out licensed as both a hygienist and a therapist. So we won't have practitioners like that anymore. But that's not because the law changed, it's because the educational institutions changed.
I'm shaking my head. I'm sure you can hear the marbles rattling in my head.
Right?
So, I mean,
Right?
yeah, a dentist can clean teeth and do all the other things, but you
Correct.
God forbid it.
That's insane.
let's add a little more.
Yeah, it's a little.
Wow.
So if you guys are really already regretting asking me to help you out on this because I just made it more
No, not
complicated.
at all. It's
No, no. We're learning stuff, though. That's
A lot.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The United
But it
States.
kind of leads into what you were talking about in that it should just say provider and let the Dental Practice Act lead who's allowed to do what in each state.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
A licensed provider. Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So I know that the other night that they were using some words as far as, some of the names of coalition partners. Do we just list them? Do we, I tried to contact the National Association of Dental Plans, couldn't reach anybody, but I've got an email into them also, so hopefully I'll get something back soon.
Yeah, and all we're doing is looking for, at least in the beginning, we're looking for information. Like, how do they limit it? Does that make a difference to them? Just information.
From the
So we can go back and say, by the way, this is what they're doing. And if anybody knows anyone in any of the, on any of the carriers that they could ask questions like that, are there instructions that this won't be paid or that won't be paid? Like someone, Natalie was saying that they will not, even though they're doing comprehensive evaluation, they're not billing it out because it says in the code book, it has to be a dentist. But again, the code book says the Practice Act in your state trumps what it says in the code book. But no one reads the frickin' preface. Especially on the back page of the preface.
I'm sure insurance companies are not educated in that as well.
True.
Well, or they're using it as a loophole.
Correct.
Right. They're hoping that you don't know it.
Right. Or it delays the payment of the claim because now you have to go back and say, no, according to my Practice Act, I am allowed to do this. So they're losing revenue, the person performing the service, and they're doing theirs through teledentistry. I don't see why it shouldn't work, but yeah, it's they have to take those words out because it's very misleading. But they don't think so.
Right.
This is Nancy. I also understand there's some insurance companies that will pay a different fee for a senior dentist or a junior dentist in the same practice.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was Delta Dental. I'm not sure. But that's ludicrous. How do you know as a patient, you're going in, what if you have an emergency? You're going to see who's going to see you. You don't know how your insurance coverage is going to be.
And what's the criteria for a junior and senior dentist?
I guess somehow they know that one was the one who started the practice, one's an associate. I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know. I heard that at one time. I don't have it in writing. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But that's ludicrous. Yeah. And sorry, I figured out somehow when I called in, they said I had to use my phone. I just figured out I can talk through my computer. Hello. Okay.
I know
Auntie.
I had some technical difficulties.
Wait a minute.
Right.
Just press another button. Okay.
Yeah. And I think I lost Teresa too, because I think she was on earlier, and I think I ended up losing her.
Oh, I don't know if I hit more. Yeah, the whole thing just shut down. It said the meeting ended.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
So
I was
That's
having
okay.
such problems that I ended up having to get out and come back in again.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately. So
Gotta love technology.
I know. I did get the state scope of practice on the PowerPoint, so from the ADHA website. So as far as what their information is, this is the allowable tasks for dental hygienists, and it's separated into each state and the abilities of each person.
But it's
Yeah.
not necessarily the dental hygienist's scope of practice. We're more, it seems as if we're headed more towards therapy, dental therapists and advanced practitioners.
Right. I think this was this must have been their information at the time. So it's probably already outdated based on, the legislation that has already passed.
Okay.
And I know,
Notice my state. My state has nothing. Nothing.
Woohoo!
where you
I'm in Delaware. I'm sorry.
where you at?
Delaware.
Ah, okay. Oh my.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. That's it.
I know, because I know
Hold on, New Jersey's right there with you.
Ed Lucero is from Oregon, and I was hoping he would be able to join us tonight. He's part of our group as well. And he was asking Patty DeGangi about the dental hygiene diagnosis, because technically in their state, they are allowed to do that. However, the evaluation code says that it has to be done by a dentist. So,
Mm.
it's happening there also.
Yeah, that language would be nice if it was changed. But we also are going to have to educate the dental insurance carriers. And that's going to be tough.
Now, is it also only the Medicaid reimbursement part that we are going towards, or is this general reimbursement policies for the dental plans?
General, why would we just do one when we should do all?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. It's just that they have a Medicaid reimbursement advocacy, and I wasn't sure if that depended on where we need to attack, kind of thing.
That might be easier there.
I don't know, but we need evidence, and we need people to talk to, and we need to find out what exactly is happening. There's a lot of hearsay and a lot of conjecture about it, and we need to nail it down more and get some actual testimony from people, preferably someone who could actually go to the CMC and say, look, this is what's happening in my state. Not just me, but in my state. More than one state would be really nice. And or, I don't know, evidence from the carriers that, yes, they're discriminating this way. I don't know that dentistry will really care whether they're discriminating or not, but if they can discriminate to us, they can discriminate to the dentists. And, the junior dentist in the practice might not like it if he doesn't get paid as much. They might want to think about that too.
So our plan of action would be, I figured we could do research on the one hand and to find it, evidence of what the requirements are for these dental plans, or at least what they say on their website, or, what they're willing to say to us. Do we each want to pick a carrier and try and, attack it, do it from that aspect?
I think that's going to be hard
Is it?
because who are you going to attack to? I mean, I know the dental director of Delta Dental in New Jersey. I mean, I could reach out to him, but that's a rare occasion. I don't know how many people, and he's only going to be in New Jersey.
Gotcha.
So, New Jersey, is like Nancy's state, Delaware, is very restrictive as to what dental hygienists do. So I feel like we should hit where these dental therapists are, because they're the ones that are living and breathing the problem right now.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
No, I think it's a great opinion.
Oh, thanks.
Well,
I haven't heard that in a long time.
It gives us a focus. That's just it. It's so widespread and it's so diluted across the United States. Where do we find our focus?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could get at ADHA a list of states that have dental therapists and advanced dental practitioners. And those are the areas in the states that maybe we could get testimony in the positive for. Because even though no dental insurance is going to come there and testify that we do negative, they're never going to admit to that, because that doesn't put them in a good light. So I don't think that anyone would say, oh, yes, we deny it. So, because of blah, 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 blah. I think they're just going to say it's based upon a case-to-case basis.
Or they could say, this is the rule, these are the rules we have set up. This is how our policies read. This is what we do. And the states, I mean, there's California, Oregon, Washington, where there's different kinds of practices. I think it's easy enough to find out who's a Medicaid provider state, or where hygienists can be reimbursed by Medicaid directly. Minnesota, of course, Colorado, they all have independent practice.
Right.
So at least those, Vermont, Maine, one of those two. So there are other places where this is actually playing out.
I think it's Maine that has independent practice because they have their own dental hygiene board.
Yes, thank you. I knew it was one of those, after a while. Yep. So yeah, there's places where this happens, and what is the outcome? How does this work? And what are you doing about it? What are you not doing about it? Wisconsin just loosened its stuff up too, so I don't know what they're doing. As far as hygienists being able to work more independently, at least with, I don't know, or some kind of even collaborative practice. I don't know how they restrict things. I don't know who else. At one point, Iowa could be directly reimbursed by Medicaid, but I don't know. That was a while ago. I don't know if they've changed it or not.
According to ADA's site, Iowa is not. They have a direct reimbursement by Medicaid map. It's a PDF. I couldn't get it onto the PowerPoint. I apologize.
Okay.
But I'll send it to you as an attachment. And it has a number of states that maybe we can start following up with their dental hygiene associations and see, what exactly they've had experiences doing. Maybe that would be one way to focus our efforts. What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
Patty Beeson, do we have any members on dental codology that are independent practicing dental hygienists?
I'm sure we do. I'm just not remembering who or where.
Okay. How could you?
Patty would know better.
Okay.
Who might be and might not be. Is anybody on this call going to Under One Roof?
Yes.
I am not. Who else is going?
I'm
Nancy,
going.
Vicky.
Yep.
Hi.
See you there. Yeah, and maybe we can talk to people while we're there. The
Sounds
three of
good.
us at least.
Okay.
And see if we can, because there's hygienists from all over.
Right.
And that would help. But yeah, we, somehow we need. Okay. Yeah, Lucy Connard is in Wisconsin.
Oh, she's Wisconsin?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she's in Wisconsin. I'm pretty sure.
And what about Denise and Susan? Where are they?
Denise is now in Florida. She was in California, but she might know a lot about both.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know Susan. But Teresa is going to ASH.
Yes, I still have to contact her.
Yeah, talk to her about that and start asking questions. Let me throw something out there. We wanted to put
what kind of a time frame? I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but what kind of time frame are you guys looking at?
Well, anything that we submit for the CMC has to be in by November.
Okay.
And so we have a little window here. We try and get it in earlier in October so that we can talk to them about it and they can discuss with us and we can revamp and review and redo if we need to. But that really doesn't give a lot of time because everybody else has to talk about it too. However, and let me toss this one out there because you're here, Christy, and because of kind of the way things are going, is this going to be something we want to do this year, or do we want to consider doing this for next year?
If you can find a good handful of people who can tell some great stories, either written or, in-person testimony is always the most compelling.
Right.
That seems like kind of a short time frame to me. But then if you guys are going to be physically connecting with people who you might be able to get some great stories, I think you're heading in the right direction. You want to talk to people for sure who are doing independent practice and are struggling with the way that the system is structured and set up. Certainly in Minnesota, we're seeing it. We can't get, dental therapists can't get credentialed by all the insurance companies. It's mostly for us, the private practice, but that's because DHS here kind of put the hammer down and kind of told all our public programs, you got to do this. Like this, we passed this law, you have to reimburse our therapists. So they have some leverage there. They don't have as much leverage with the private companies. And that was a decision DHS is like, this is state law, you'll follow it. Not every state has a DHS that's going to stand behind their practitioners that way.
I'm sorry, what is DHS?
Department of Health Services in Minnesota, that's who controls the purse strings.
Understood.
Patty Beeson, I also have another question. When is it possible when we're sending these testimonies, if people can't be there, is there a way to do it video or is it only paper? Or because, I think some people are going to be like, I'd love to help, but I'm not going to be able to get there. So I know that they could write it, but as I heard from Christy saying that, visual is always much more compelling. Have they ever had anybody submit videos?
To the best of my knowledge, no. I've never seen one. Last year they had a dentist, I think in Arizona, who submitted a code for capturing the photographic image. And then something about capturing and transmission. I don't remember what it was. It's in the list of new stuff. And she phoned it in. They had her, she couldn't come to the meeting. She was a dentist. And they did phone her, and she did talk on the phone so everyone could hear it.
Okay.
So maybe. Okay. We're trying to figure out some kind of funding, at least for airfare and lodging, for people that we really need to have testimony from. But I don't know how quickly that's going to come together. As a matter of fact, Patty and I are talking about it with somebody else on Monday. I just don't know how it's going to work. But we realized last year when we did the test, when they were trying to do the implant codes, the maintenance for implants, the rest of us really couldn't speak to it. I certainly can't. And we just weren't conversant enough to be able to stand up there and say this and this and this, whereas people like Siobhan Healy and Melissa Braca and I don't know, all those, Nicole Fortune, they're very articulate and very involved, very deeply involved in very advanced implant practices. And they would be the best people to speak to that. So they're trying to figure out a way, but we don't have the deep pockets exactly.
Right.
So I still think we need to research this and see how much we can get. Let's see what we can find out. Maybe we can submit something. And then,
and even submitting it this year and really understanding that the hard push might have to come next year is not bad. It starts to introduce the idea. It starts to get people thinking and asking questions. And
we asked last year. There was something was said about it last year, and they said they quoted the preface, and we didn't have the evidence. We just said this needs to come out because it shouldn't be provider specific. It's a procedure code. When you look at the medical procedure codes, they don't identify who's doing what, and they didn't much care, especially when it comes to evaluation codes. Those are sacred cows. So, and they mentioned their little, I think 2 sentences in the last page of the preface about how, the State Practice Act trumps everything. Again, I put it in there. And it could be that because it's such a sacred cow to have the dentist listed, they would have trouble with their membership if they didn't. I don't know.
So if we present evidentiary information of like the dental therapists and the independent contract or the independent hygienists that aren't getting paid, do you think that would be the evidence strong enough to maybe change their minds?
I don't know. One thing I have to say, and we kind of have to be careful here, once a code is defeated, you can't bring it back unless you have more evidence, more and new different evidence. So we need to see what evidence we can find. And if we think it's strong enough this year, then let's go ahead and present it. If we don't think it's strong enough, there is always the possibility we could hold it and gather perhaps more, or we think there's something else we could do. I just want you to understand that it would be possible to maybe wait till next year. Okay? I'm not saying we should.
Right.
I'm just saying that's one of the caveats. You have to have new evidence before you can present it again the next year.
So evidence would be in the form of examples
Anything we
like with Christy and her practice problems and independent hygienists and their problems. Is that, if we started documenting those, that would be one way that you're talking about?
And maybe we need to ask people to document for the next year how many times you don't get this, this, and this, if we can find the people. Or maybe they have enough information that they can tell us, no, we tried to do this repeatedly, they refused to pay, they pay us at a lesser rate, they do this, and there's no reason to, because according to the CDC, or the CDT, we can do this procedure.
I also think that we need to spin it towards patient care, even though we're talking about payment for the provider.
Oh, yeah.
That it's also, delaying patient care, to that patient, or the patient is incurring more expense,
More
due
expense,
to
more
the
time,
lack
more
of
trips, more whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
True. Good point, Vicki.
no problem.
Oh boy, Vicki.
I'm on a roll today.
I was going to say, wow, you're hot today.
I'm on a roll.
Enjoy it now.
Yeah, really.
Oh my God. All right.
Okay, so is this something that we need to check in weekly? Or I was thinking maybe August 14th would be our next meeting. Or is that too much time in between now? Because you've got Under One Roof coming up.
That sounds good to me.
We're all kind of crazed.
Look at your schedule, Patty Beeson. You're the one with the worst one, probably.
I thought I just put this in. Oh, no, the full DCC. Well, we could do that. The full DCC meets on the 25th of August.
All right, so that's good. So we would have something to talk about at that meeting.
Uh-huh.
And present what we found, what evidence we found so far.
And let's not be afraid to check in with each other and say, hey, I can't find out this. I think this is a person or whatever I've heard from. So we kind of have a clue about what's going on.
Via email?
Yeah.
Do you want to do it as a group email?
Yeah, I'm not wild about those, but yeah, let's do that. It's just for a short time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might work out. I just think sometimes we end up working in a vacuum, and maybe we just need, I found this, and then somebody else will be, oh, maybe I could look at this. Sometimes you just need that kind of
brainstorming.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
It actually ends up being encouraging. I
Okay.
think.
All right. So that would be August 14th. I said. And we'll do another call from there. And then we'll keep in touch email-wise with group email until then. Right?
Yeah. Patty, do you want to just send out a group email so we all have each other's?
Right. I will do that.
Okay.
Awesome.
That sounds good. All right. Sounds good, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry I had a little difficulty, but this will be on the Dropbox by tomorrow, or when Patty can get.
Actually,
Yes.
it's also on the dentalcodology.com website. if you go to the insiders, because you're all insiders, so if you go to that, then you can look, it will be, Patty puts it up there under the Dental Codology Consortium, and they're all listed there. So you can just listen to it from that. Would that make sense?
Yeah, and if you're not part of the, I'm not sure if Christy is an insider yet, but you can
I'm not.
Okay, yeah.
We need to.
We have to get her in. We have to rook her in.
You can also go to Dropbox.com and look. Does she have to be invited, or I get confused?
I think I have to be invited to a drop.
I think she needs access.
And we'll talk to Patty.
Okay,
Angie.
yeah, I'll figure
Get
that
that
out.
squared away, Christy. I mean, this group is not limited to hygienists. Teresa is an assistant. She runs this whole out California. Natalie is an assistant. Let's face it, she runs half the world, I think. But
yeah, I think she runs half the world as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
she certainly tells me what to do.
I believe that. I think she's delightful, but yes. So, it's not just about being a dental hygienist. It's about all of us. I mean, she's there. Natalie and Teresa both are trying to manage this stuff, and they're having as much trouble as anybody else. It's like, stop, you stupid dentist.
Well, I mean, the first thing you notice is that, of course, this is once again housed in the ADA, and I'm both as a therapist and a hygienist, as a dental professional, really frustrated with the control that the ADA has on every single aspect of dentistry, which would be okay if they were a philanthropic organization, but they're a professional association. They shouldn't have their hands in all these pies. They shouldn't have so much control. They advocate, their whole role is to advocate for dentists. They don't protect the public. They don't protect anyone's profession but dentists. And I'm astounded every time I unpeel the onion that there's one more layer they control.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, not only are they a professional association, they are a great, big, huge, money-making
I was going to say,
association.
they are not a non-for-profit organization.
No, they lost $9 million once a year. They lost it in their accounting somewhere. They lost it. And it hardly fazed them.
They are also a very big political machine.
They are indeed.
So this is why they were able to spend millions of dollars in Minnesota trying to fight dental therapy.
Yep.
Yeah. Proud of you guys.
Unfortunately, they can't stop the wave. There's 13 states that have some form of dental therapy now. They just can't stop it.
Yeah, because people need it.
I was going to say the access to care is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where would we be if everything were restricted to physicians only?
Exactly.
It would take you 9 months to get in to see a doctor. You'd have your baby before you saw an obstetrician.
Exactly. And it's like medicine has embraced this. Like, let her do the routine. I'll take the difficult stuff. I mean, I don't understand why dentists don't want therapists. Yeah, take care of that stinking kid that I don't want to see, or maybe I'd rather see the kid. However they want to do it, so I can concentrate on the stuff I really like to do. I like to do.
Well, and I think the biggest advocate for it is the dentists themselves that have hired dental therapists. Yes. At the Dental Therapy Association, they find that the number one person who wants to hire a dental therapist is someone who already has one. Like, once they're like, oh, this is awesome, then they're huge advocates. I mean, there's people who fought against it when the legislation was going through who now have them working in their practices. Like, once they experience it and get it.
Okay, I have a friend. I'm old.
Got to get them over
Christy.
the fear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're not old.
I mean, I'm really old. I'm old. And hey, and so I've seen the progression of what's happened. But my best friend was a nurse. She went to a 3-year school, nursing school. And then ultimately, like 20 years down the road, she ended up getting her bachelor's, and then she got her master's, and then she got her, and then she ended up with her NP. But before that even happened, the hospital she worked in credentialed her to do a variety of things that most of their nurses couldn't do. Okay? She could pull an epidural. Okay? She could remove
Wow.
an epidural from a patient years ago, before she was a nurse practitioner. I know when I had mine and it wasn't working, and I was in pain immediately post-surgery, she went out to the desk and she's like, come on, guys, get this thing out of here. And they're like, oh, we can't do that. We have to have the anesthesiologist come down. She goes, what the hell? Are you kidding me? I'm not credentialed here or I wouldn't do it. You know, it's just, so medicine has done this kind of stuff. And once they find out you can do it, Marge was one of the first nurse practitioners in her hospital. Now the physicians come to her and ask her questions. What do I do? What test do I order? How do I do this? Because she works for a surgeon and she's incredibly knowledgeable. And she's on the medical staff at the hospital. But a lot of them will come up to her and say, Marge, is there another one of you? I really want someone like you to come and work for me.
Right.
Right.
And that's what's happening, is that more and more and more of them, they're like, oh my God, why didn't I do this years ago?
Yeah.
Well, it frees them up.
Well, they knew, yeah, they knew hygienists could do this in the 70s. They had a huge pilot program where they were teaching them to fill and drill, and it was too successful, and the dentist shut it down.
Mm-hmm. When I went
And they
to dental
knew,
school,
they knew 50 years ago.
Okay, 50 years ago. Thanks, Christy. 50 years
When
ago.
I was in dental hygiene school, we were taught to do restoration.
I graduated 50 years ago, and at the time, talking to the dental students, they're like, oh my God, why do you have to learn all this stuff? You guys are so overeducated. And the point was that they were going to expand what we could do, and they wanted us to have an adequate background to do more stuff. And then they found out we were their cash cow. And first of all, we were going to be little girls who were going to work for a couple of years and then get married and have our families and go away. So they always needed new little girls, you know, in there. And that didn't happen. Something changed along the way, but they didn't change. And suddenly we became a threat, and they were going to lose their cash cow. You know, their so-called lost leader in the practice.
Lost leader.
Yeah, right.
I am.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, been there. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for everybody. We're going to be emailing each other the next few weeks, and then meet back. I will send out another invitation for the August 14th. Thank you so much for all your information, all your stories. I really appreciate everybody's input on this. So if we have any questions, don't hesitate to email, call, whatever. I will send out contact information on each other so that we have the information among the whole group. All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
That's great.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank
See you next week, Nancy.
Good night. Oh, yes, I'll see you there.
See you, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
Bye, Vicki. Thank you.